and welcome back to On the Workbench. Today we're taking a look at the Maytag Bravos XL washing machine. Now unfortunately on the video camera what you can't tell is the lovely smell of stench coming out of the wash basin because it's not draining all the way, and I suspect it to be possibly molded over or have some other just crumb that needs to be cleaned. So we're going to be cleaning that today to get rid of the stench that there's just no way to bring through on the video camera, unfortunately. So this is the Bravos XL. This was purchased in about 2012. It's 2017 now, so I had it for about 5.5 years. And it's time for a solid cleaning, even with the A-Fresh washing stuff. It hasn't gotten it out. And so we're going to do an all-out manual clean, and I'll show you how to do that. Here's a quick look at some of the tools you'll need to do the job. First, we're going to have a non-marring mallet or a dead blow hammer. Use something like this to be able to reseat the wash tub back on the spindle when you go to put it back together. Taking it apart, you're going to want some form of a non-marring interior automobile trim tool to be able to remove the decorative chrome cap at the bottom of the wash tub. You're going to want a toothbrush, an old one that you're going to throw away for cleaning the dirt and grime out of the parts that we're going to be taking off. You're going to want a Phillips head screwdriver, one that is pretty trusty and reliable. You also may want a pair of hose clamp pliers or a pair of vice grips or channel locks to be able to remove a hose clamp. You're also going to want a 7/16 and 1/4 inch socket. I'm using a 3/8 drive. And then for the screws on the back, just a nice little quick stubby ratchet works great. And then for a couple of other bolts on the bottom, you may want an extension and a longer either flex head 3/8 or a breaker bar. This is a 1/2 inch breaker bar here with a 1/2 to 3/8 reducer on it. And then finally, some sort of parts tray to keep track of your screws and bolts as everything comes apart. Another set of tools, if you will, is you're going to need about 2 rolls of paper towels. I'm showing shop towels here, but I'm actually going to use this regular white kitchen paper towels for soaking up the moisture and cleaning out the inside of where the dirty, moldy water is collected. And then you're going to want a trash bag to be able to throw those into, to be able to take out of the house immediately once you're done. You're not going to want that sitting around. Just go ahead and seal off the bag and take that out. And plan on about 2 rolls, but you might want a 3rd roll of paper towels. Just your cheap white ones work. The final tools that you might need, if you're having an unlucky day, which unfortunately is out of your control, is a scissor car jack that might come out of the trunk of your car for you changing the spare tire in your vehicle. And a 2x4 cut to 22 1/4 inches, and then a couple beater sockets, just junk sockets. And so what the point of this is that you can put this at the bottom of your wash drum, and then put this on top. You have to put this around the top of your drum, and then you can use this to help extract, basically as a puller tool, to remove your drum from the spindle that it's connected to. And then this will pull up and allow you to extract it. Now in the case of my specific scissor jack, a 1 inch 6-point socket can be used to help to turn this from the side if you don't have easy access to it. But you can probably do that with your hand to be able to adjust that. And then if you have troubles reseating your wash bin back on, that's where the beater sockets come in, that you can use this around the collar or where it seats down on the drum, and then use a hammer on this to be able to tap it down into place to get to reseat properly onto the spline drive shaft. Now, let's get on with the process of taking care of our washing machine. And finally, that last tool that you need for this is going to be your good old safety glasses. Can't forget about those. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the washing machine out from the wall so we can access the rear. Now with the washing machine pulled out from the wall, you can look on the ground there and see what kind of dirt or filth or other things that have fallen down below so that you can do the proper cleaning. So on the back side here, we're going to have to undo the bolts on these green tabs on the left and the right side. So let's grab a ratchet and get to work on those tabs. For the removal of these bolts, we're going to use a 1/4 inch socket. I'm going to be using just a flexible 3/8 ratchet to be able to get access to these. And 4. And then here's a look at the bracket. You can see this is 1, and then the other one. Once you've got these removed, we're going to clean these up, and then we're going to put these back in, and these are going to function as hinges for lifting the top lid off. So now I'm going to go clean these up at the sink and be right back. Now on the sides, we're going to use some masking tape. You can use some blue painter's tape, and we're going to tape the lid down. So whenever we lift the top up, it doesn't want to go flying backwards because we're going to be adjusting this top section. With these pieces cleaned now and dried, I'm going to put that back in like that. And then I'm going to put the screw in. The only screw I'm going to put in is going to be the one at the bottom. I can kind of get these started by hand, just like that. There's one. And we'll put the other one in over here like this. Technically, you don't have to actually remove these, but I think if we're going to be doing some maintenance on our washer, we should be wanting to do a complete service. So we still have screws out here, and enough slack in our hot and cold water lines. And now when we come to the front of the unit, we can kind of slide this forward just a bit. It's going to be a little bit of play here. So take a little bit of trial and error to get the setting just right on that. Then we'll be able to lift the lid with this top part off like that, and then pivot this up on those green hinges in the back. And this is where the tape and having an ability to keep that together is going to be important. And then once you get the lid all the way up, I'm actually going to end up using just my rack here as an extra prop to help support it. Helps have some extra support for that top lid. And now comes the fun part of looking at our wash drum in assembly. And we can see there's definitely some scum around the outside edges here. And we're going to be having to use our hands, come along the side to be able to disconnect the clips. There should be a clip in each corner, and it should just unsnap. Kind of like you're taking apart Tupperware. Maybe you can see a little bit of the clip there. And there's going to be clips on different sides. And this kind of unsnaps once you get a couple of them. Work your way around. And it should get progressively easier as we go around. You can see this obviously is going to need a little bit of a scrubbing and a cleaning. One of the details that you may wish to do is to remove the fill hose connection. This has just a pipe clamp or a hose clamp that you might find on an automobile radiator hose, and you may want to remove that to remove the top part. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make sure I have my safety glasses on. Then I'm going to pull out my handy dandy automotive hose clamp pliers. These hose clamp pliers, if you look at them, they've got these little specialty cups on either side to help deal with the wire clamp here. Alternatively, you could use some pliers or other types of hose clamp pliers to be able to bring this together. And there, with the hose clamp off, we can remove this and then set this aside for cleaning. So that now leaves the wash basin in here. And so we still need to go get to the bottom under this wash basin to be able to complete our cleaning. And so to be able to get the end of this drum taken off, we're going to need to be able to go down here and remove this Maytag clip. But to do that, we're going to use a specialty pry bar. I'm going to use one of these nylon non-marring automobile trim repair tools. And then just come right underneath it with the trim tool and pop this off. This is just plastic, so that's why I want Use this plastic non-marring so you don't damage the finish on this. This is just a decorative piece. And then on the inside of here, more gunk to clean. Set that aside. And now you can see we've got another bolt here that we've got to remove. To remove the bolt in there, I'm going to switch to a long 3/8 ratchet with an extension to give me the leverage that I'm going to need to break this bolt loose. Once I've gotten the bolt broken loose, that's nice with the ratchet here. I can turn this into a little bit of a speed ratchet, which is nice with these flex heads. Reach in and then use my hands to pull it out the rest of the way. There you go, the bolt comes out and it looks like this, and you can see there's more gunk on there that we're going to have to clean. So we'll set that aside on a paper towel. And then that's going to allow us to pull the center straight out. And we can see some nice gunk and grime there. That's beautiful and pretty, we can tell. And if we look underneath here, we see how nasty that's become, so that's got to get cleaned too. Again, we'll set that aside.
Your next step is going to be to remove the Phillips head screws that surround the spindle keeper here from what you see at the screen at the bottom of the wash basin. Take that apart. You're going to have it's like a whitish plastic keeper that goes over the top of the spindle, another bushing underneath it, and then set that aside. Be careful, you don't want to strip these screws. And if you do have to replace these, you'd want to replace these with stainless steel screws. I'm sorry I didn't get very good video footage of this, but take that apart because that'll then allow you to access the spindle to allow the drum to come free, as you'll see coming up here in a moment.
Now in my case, the drum is actually stuck, so we're going to create a puller tool. You already saw me remove the top bearing from here, and so now what we're going to do is I'm going to use a 2x4. Got the length that I've already described. I'm going to slide this in so this fits around a ring up here. It's also going to help me remove it. Now I'm going to use an automotive scissor jack to get in between. I'm going to use just a scissor jack like this. Then we're going to put that on top of the spline. Now I'm going to manually raise this by hand. Until it's firmly in place. And at least on my scissor jack, I can use a 1-inch 6-point socket to be able to raise it with a ratchet. Since I'm in some close quarters, not all jacks work the same way. You have to check your jack specifically to see what you need to do. And this is going to create a specialty puller tool, effectively, for removing this off of the spline drive shaft. Just to make sure you can see how this looks on the inside, we pull this around here. You can see the jack on top of the spline drive going up to the 2x4. And so all we're doing is trying to pull up on the drum via the 2x4 relative to the spline drive to separate the two that have jammed together. I've already sprayed with PB Blaster in a couple shots that you've already seen. I'm just going to keep working this jack to be able to lift this off. And now with that out, you can see what we've got down there. And you can see there's definitely some gray water down there. We're going to use some paper towels to get that out. We're going to have to spray this down with some disinfectant to get this all cleaned up and scrubbed out. And then we're going to use our 1/4-inch socket to be able to remove the cap on that drain filter there and see how that looks. Next thing is paper towels to be able to get rid of the water out of there. With the screws in that filter cover out, lift up on the lid here, and we can see there's our drain port and a bunch more gunk and a bunch more gunk in here. It's got to get cleaned, and so we're going to have to clean that. And we're going to use some paper towels, or we'll put this in the sink and we'll wash that off in a sink. Once we've got our parts clean, we're going to reassemble it here. We'll start with the drain cover. Get all nice and clean with my toothbrush and a toothpick. We'll put that down and then put our screws back in that.
Then proceed to reinstall the wash drum by putting it back in. You might want to clean it up before you do this, and it drops right back in on that spindle.
One reassembly detail is you want to make sure the entirety of that spline drive is visible above the tub. In my case, I had to do a little bit of beating with the same 2x4 turned sideways and my mallet to be able to knock this down all the way down the shaft like it's supposed to be to fully seat. And once that's fully seated, I can put the screws back in and reassemble the mechanism around here. You can double check to make sure that the seal around here is tight. And even if it's not, the water going through there will just get down to the tub that we cleaned earlier. And so now we can put the rest of the assembly together. And so we're going to start with this white bit here. See the metal ring on the back? Flip that around. That's going to go vertical like that. Then we'll put this assembly on. Pay attention that to get all the screw holes lined up right. It may take a couple iterations to find the optimal fit. Something like that. And then put your 6 screws in. And so that's my next step. So now the screwdriver and my 6 screws. Once the center connections to the spline drive are done, we're going to take our agitator and we're going to drop that in, and we're going to make sure our bolt can thread into the spline drive there. I'm just going to hand tighten that first, and I'm going to come back with my 7/16 socket and ratchet and tighten it down. Now unfortunately I don't know the torque spec for that. You want to make sure you get the rubber slightly depressed on there. If anybody knows the proper torque spec for this, please put this in the comment below. That'd be useful to everyone in the community. Once you've got that torqued down to where you're comfortable, we're going to take this decorative cap, and then this is just going to pop right on and snaps into place just like that. Now we can go back and install our upper ring. So now when we're putting the ring on, make sure you pay attention to where that hose connection is. We'll have to deal with that in just a moment. And so this is going to go around like this. Then you have to snap it into place. You can see the snaps all around the tub. This should go pretty easily into place. And now with our safety glasses firmly on, I'm going to grab my hose clamp pliers, and I'm going to reach down and grab the hose clamp that slid down. We're going to reattach this rubber gasket here to our tub cover, like that. But now we're going to have to be able to move our ring into place, and I'm going to use my hose clamp pliers. Alternatively, you could use just a pair of regular jawed pliers. Just turn it off to the side to make space, and then release it, making sure you've got that hose nice and snugly connected to that fitting there. And now we've got our wash basin put back together. Then we're going to take our lid, and we're going to lower this down, and then with the lid, we're going to do a little bit of trial and error, and watch your fingertips on this one to get the lid. If you've got any tape that's wrapping around, this is a good time to go ahead and clean up the tape. I've got a little bit on the inside. Now just pay attention there. If you look on the side, you can see up here in the front the way those little catches are. So we're going to slide this forward and then pull it back for the catches to work just like they're intended. Just watch your fingers as you do that to make sure that it, there we go. And we feel a nice snug fit all the way around. You can take the tape off that was helping you with the lid. And then we can dispose of that tape. And then the final detail on the back side is going to be to reinstall the bolt here and the one on the other side to ensure that the top of this here is locked into place. So now I'm going to grab my socket and go back and grab that with my 1/4 inch socket. And once you got the bolts on the back put on, make sure you come around back and make sure all your hoses are reconnected and turned back on. Your machine's plugged in and you should be ready to go. I'd recommend just starting off with this washing machine cleaner, whether it's the Tide or the A-Fresh or whatever brand you prefer. Run that through just to make sure everything's through. Check for any leaks on the seals of the bearings. And you can check that by looking at the bottom of the machine and if any water comes out, and then you should be good to go. So I hope you found this video useful. Please click the like and the subscribe button and comment below if you know the torque spec for that center bolt, and have a great day.